I never imagined the man I once trusted with my life could betray us in a way so deep it shook my soul. One day our daughter was home, laughing, playing, and the next, she was gone. Not missing, not lost, but given away. And when I found out why, I made a promise. He would feel every ounce of the pain he caused. People think betrayal is about lies, about secrets, but they're wrong. True betrayal is when someone rips apart the very thing you built your life around, and they do it without hesitation. I married a man I thought I knew, someone who swore he would protect our family no matter what. But one day, I came home to silence, and an empty room where my little girl's laughter used to be. She wasn't missing. She wasn't lost. She had been handed over, traded, for something that could never come close to her worth. And when I learned why, I felt something break inside me. This wasn't going to be about forgiveness. This wasn't about moving on. I wanted him to feel every sleepless night, every unanswered question, every tear. I wanted him to understand that some wounds don't heal, they burn. And I was ready to be the one to light the match. You can live with a person for years and never truly know them. That's what I kept thinking as I stood in the doorway of our living room that day. The curtains were still drawn, even though it was already afternoon. The air smelled stale, like someone had been sitting in the dark for hours. And there he was, my husband, Marcus, hunched over on the couch, staring at the floor, as if the weight of the world had landed squarely on his shoulders. At first, I thought it was one of his bad days. Addiction has a way of making you excuse the signs. You tell yourself, he's just tired, stressed, it's the job, it's the weather. You make up 1,000 reasons because the truth is too heavy to carry. But this time, something in his eyes made my skin prickle. He wouldn't look at me. His lips kept moving like he was whispering to himself, rehearsing a lie. I asked where our daughter Layla was. The pause that followed felt like a lifetime. He finally muttered, "She's with a friend, just for a while." But Marcus never let Layla stay anywhere without warning me first, not even for an hour. I pressed again, my voice sharper now. That's when his hands started to shake. I didn't have the full picture yet, just fragments that didn't fit. But somewhere deep inside, I already knew that the man I married had crossed a line we could never come back from. What I didn't know was how far he had gone and how much it would cost to make him pay for it. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing Marcus's voice in my head, replaying the way he said Layla was with a friend. The thing is, Layla didn't have many friends. She was shy, cautious, the kind of little girl who clung to my hand in public. And when she did have a friend, I knew their parents, their routines, their home. But this time there was no name, no phone call, no plan. Just a vague, flimsy excuse from a man who couldn't meet my eyes. I waited until Marcus fell into one of his heavy sleeps, the kind where he'd snore loud enough to drown out the television. And I went through his phone. He had changed the passcode. That wasn't just unusual, it was a red flag the size of Texas. Marcus never cared about privacy before. Now it was locked down like a vault. The next morning, I called everyone I could think of, neighbours, Layla's teacher, even her dance instructor. None of them had seen her in days. That's when panic stopped being a shadow in the corner of my mind and stepped right into the middle of the room. By the second day, Marcus was restless. He paced the living room, chain-smoking, muttering under his breath. He started picking fights over nothing, an empty coffee cup, a missed laundry load. Addicts often do that when they're cornered. They'll turn the heat on you so you stop asking questions. But I didn't stop. Then came the first real crack in his story. I found an envelope hidden under the mattress. Inside were $500 bills, rolled tight and wrapped with a rubber band. The money smelled faintly of cigarettes and something sour. Sweat, maybe. When I asked about it, he claimed he'd sold his old tools. But Marcus hadn't picked up a wrench in months. Still, I didn't have proof, just suspicion. and suspicion can make you doubt yourself if you're not careful. But then, 3 nights later, I overheard a phone call. Marcus's voice was low, urgent, and almost pleading. I couldn't hear the other side, but I caught fragments. "I did what you asked. And no, I can't get more." That's when a thought I didn't want to believe started gnawing at me. What if Layla wasn't with a friend? What if Marcus had done something, traded something, that no mother could forgive? I wish I could tell you I stormed into the room right then and demanded answers, but the truth is, I froze, because deep down I wasn't ready to hear what he might say, and once I heard it, there'd be no way to unhear it. By the 4th day, the air in that house felt heavy, like we were both holding our breath waiting for something to snap. I'd started keeping my phone in my pocket at all times just in case I needed to call someone. The trust was gone. Whatever was between us now was a quiet, invisible war. That afternoon, I decided to do something Marcus never expected. I went to the pawn shops, not one, all of them within 20 miles. I showed Layla's picture, asked the same question again and again. "Have you seen this girl? Did she come in here with anyone?" At the 3rd shop, the man behind the counter shifted uncomfortably before answering. "No, ma'am, never seen her." But his eyes told me different. You learn to read people when you live with someone who lies for a living. When I got home, Marcus was already waiting. Not standing, not pacing, just sitting there in the dark. No TV, no radio, just him in the chair, smoking like the room was his personal ashtray. "Where were you?" His voice was low but not calm. Controlled. The kind of control that means they're seconds away from losing it. I told him I went to the store. That was true. I just didn't tell him what I bought on the way back. A cheap voice recorder. That night I left the recorder under the couch where Marcus liked to sit during his late-night calls. I woke up at 3:17 a.m., heart pounding, certain I'd heard a voice. I crept into the living room, but Marcus was gone. The back door was cracked open, cold air spilling in. In the morning, I checked the recorder. Most of it was static and muffled shuffling, until 2:54 a.m. That's when I heard it. A man's voice I didn't recognize. "The girl's fine. You'll get the rest when I know she's out of state." And Marcus's reply, "Just keep her away from here until I'm square." Square. That was a word Marcus used when he talked about debts. By then my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hit stop on the recorder. There it was. A confirmation that Layla wasn't just missing. She was being kept somewhere. By someone Marcus knew. But here's the part that still makes my skin crawl. That same day Marcus brought me flowers. Cheap ones, wrapped in plastic from the gas station. He smiled, kissed my forehead and said, "We're gonna get through this." Like he was the loving husband again. And for a moment, just a moment, I almost believed him. Almost. Because later that night, I found something else. A folded-up bus ticket in his jacket pocket. One way, no return. Destination, 2 states over. Marcus wasn't planning to bring Layla back, he was planning to disappear. The morning after I found that bus ticket, I woke up to the sound of Marcus humming in the kitchen. Humming. As if nothing in the world was wrong. As if our daughter wasn't missing, and my life hadn't been turned into a slow-moving nightmare. He slid a cup of coffee toward me, black, the way I used to drink it before the sleepless night started. He was being careful, deliberate. And that's when I realized Marcus was testing me, watching my every reaction. I told him I was going to the pharmacy, but instead I drove straight to the only person I thought might still care enough to help, Detective Ramirez, the same cop who'd come to the house the day Layla disappeared. He'd been polite but distant back then, treating it like a domestic dispute, not a crime. But when I played him the recording from under the couch, his jaw tightened. He didn't say much, just, "You need to be careful. This is more than you think." And then he leaned in and whispered, "We've been watching him for months." I froze. Watching Marcus. For what? Ramirez wouldn't answer, just told me to go home, act normal, and whatever I did, not to confront him. But when I got back, Marcus was waiting on the porch, bus ticket in one hand, my recorder in the other. Looking for something? His smile was wrong, cold. He didn't shout. He didn't hit me. He just stepped aside and let me walk into the house like he owned every inch of the ground I stood on. And then I saw it. A second bus ticket on the table. My name on it. Same destination as his. "We leave in 2 days," he said. "You, me, and maybe Layla, if you don't make this harder than it has to be." That night, I barely slept. Every sound in the house felt amplified. The creak of the stairs, the wind against the windows, the faint scrape of something in the garage. When I finally dared to look, I found Marcus out there talking on the phone again. This time, his voice was sharp. "She's starting to dig. We need to move now." It hit me then. He wasn't taking me to find Layla. He was taking me to make sure I'd never come back. And just when I thought I couldn't be more certain, the next day proved me wrong. Because when I opened the mail, there was an envelope addressed to me in Layla's handwriting. No return address, no note inside. Just a photo. Her, standing in front of a boarded-up building, eyes swollen, holding a newspaper with yesterday's date. By the next morning, the photo of Layla was burning a hole in my pocket. I couldn't stop staring at it. The way her hair was messy, like she'd been dragged from sleep. The shadow of someone standing just out of frame. Marcus, on the other hand, was acting like we were going on vacation. He packed bags, hummed again while making breakfast, even told me to wear something comfortable for the trip. Every word felt like a threat wrapped in normalcy. I didn't go to Ramirez, I didn't have time. I went somewhere else, the one place Marcus wouldn't expect. An old neighbour, Mrs. Carson, who used to babysit Layla when she was little. The kind of woman who notices everything. I showed her the photo, and she nodded slowly. That building. That's the old freight depot on River Street. Been abandoned for years, unless someone's using it for something they shouldn't. I didn't tell Marcus I knew. I played along. When the day of the trip came, I got into the car, my heart hammering so hard I thought he'd hear it. We drove for hours, the roads getting emptier, the town smaller. Then, without warning, he pulled off onto a dirt path. At the end of it, the freight depot. My pulse spiked. Layla was here, I could feel it. He made me get out first. The metal doors creaked as he unlocked them, and the smell hit me. Mildew, rust, and something else I couldn't name. Inside, it was dark except for a single bare bulb swinging from the ceiling. And there she was. Layla. Alive, but thin, sitting in a corner with her hands tied. I started toward her, but Marcus blocked me. His eyes were cold. "You don't get it, do you? You ruined everything when you started snooping. Now we all leave together. Or none of us leave at all." Then, footsteps. Heavy, deliberate. From the shadows emerged 2 men I'd never seen before. One of them nodded at Marcus. "The deal's changed. She stays. You go." Marcus stiffened. "That's not what we agreed." The man cut him off. "Addicts don't get to change terms." And that's when it all shattered. Marcus lunged, knocking the man back, yelling at me to run. I grabbed Layla, but before we could get far, a gunshot echoed. Marcus staggered, clutching his side, blood spreading fast. He looked at me, really looked at me, and said, "Go, don't waste this." I dragged Layla into the night, not stopping until I saw headlights in the distance. It was Ramirez. Somehow he'd found us. The next minutes were a blur, shouting, more gunshots, Marcus's body being carried out. Later at the station, Ramirez told me the truth. Marcus had been under investigation for months for trafficking, drugs, stolen goods, and people. Layla had been collateral in a debt he couldn't pay. At the trial, they showed evidence I didn't want to see. Transactions, messages, the whole web Marcus had been tangled in. Layla testified in a small, trembling voice. I couldn't even look at her without breaking inside. When the verdict came, there was no cheering, just silence. Marcus was dead, his partner's sentenced to life. Layla was free, but nothing felt like victory. And when a reporter asked me how I felt, I didn't have an answer. Because the truth was, I didn't just lose my husband. I lost the illusion of the life I thought we had. It's been months now. Layla's healing, slowly. People say I was brave, but bravery wasn't what got us out. It was desperation. And desperation, I've learned, leaves scars you can't see. So when people ask if I've moved on, I tell them this: you can survive something like this, but you'll never be the same. And maybe that's the point.